Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Black power.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Oh, FAFO 2025. Democratic senators jammed up Republicans today in a Senate hearing after the Atlantic's editor-in-chief was mistakenly included on a Signal chat group with top U.S. security officials, including the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA Director, the Secretary of State, the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense. And guess what? Republicans and MAGA have been kissing their ass, coming up with all sorts of excuses. But remember what they said about Hillary Clinton's email server? Oh, we're going to remind you. Donald Trump making excuses. Even his own national security advisor, the one who added the journalists, what did he do? Try to double down. It's the media. It's the media. It's the media's fault. And the greatest ass kissers of all, Fox News, Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Jesse Waters, and especially so-called lawyer Will Cain. They did everything to defend their former co-worker, Peter Hegseth. Oh my goodness. And what the hell was DJ Envy talking about on the Breakfast Club? When he was like, well, I don't understand. I mean, isn't he an American? Why would he do these things? I gotta give Envy in the Breakfast Club some history lessons when it comes to the role of media and writing stories in the public interest. And Attorney General Pam Bondi, she said that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she owes Elon Musk and Tesla shareholders an apology. I'm sorry, are you the Attorney General or are you the chief spokeswoman for Tesla? Yep. It's a lot I got to deal with. Plus, on Friday, Howard University's 14th Amendment Center will officially open. We'll chat with founder Shirley Eiffel. A lot to talk about. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go Roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Donald Trump claimed he had the best and the brightest in his administration. They're going to be judging people by merit. He wants smart people, not these DEI hires. How dare you? But really, I think we can fair to say that this administration is called Dumb and Dumber. Huge blowback today when the Senate held a hearing that dealt with the issue, top intelligence officials, and they were all being questioned regarding this big story of the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, who was added to a Signal group chat where it's called the Principals Committee. The heads of the top American national security agencies were discussing plans to strike Houthi rebels in Yemen. Now, folks, here are the people that were in that chat. We now know, of course, Jonathan Goldberg, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff. Y'all, they were all on this group. Now, how could these be the top intelligence people, but they're not intelligent enough to know that you shouldn't be using an encrypted app like Signal, and you shouldn't be using personal devices to be communicating back and forth. Now, a lot of people use Signal. I use Signal. I'm in several different group chats. And it's actually very easy to discover who's in your group chat. You could just tap the link and you can see who's been added. So how are these people so smart and bright and amazing and wonderful? Man, it's a lot that was discussed today in that Senate hearing. But first, I want to chat with the ranking Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He's dealt with national security issues for a very long time, Congressman Greg Meeks of New York. Congressman, I recall, Congressman, how your Republican colleagues were just beside themselves regarding Hillary Clinton's private email server and what took place in Benghazi and how we've got to get to the bottom of this. They were demanding hearings and things along those lines. Control room, please get the clip ready of the Speaker of the House, okay, Mike Johnson, Louisiana. It was amazing to listen to him just, these things happen and, these guys, they just, it's like they're working on it. And I'm sitting here, Congressman, and I'm looking at all of these Republicans, and I'm just looking at just the grace and mercy that they just were extending and how it was really no big deal. And let me know when y'all have the clip. And Johnson is just sitting here, they're just, hey, these, I don't really see what the big deal is. So here's Johnson saying, it's much ado about nothing. Roll it.
Two questions on the same topic. Have you ever engaged in messaging app chats with the Trump administration about national security matters? That includes Signal, whatever, all of those things. And also, I think you know the story, but I'm curious if the Biden administration it had been found out that they were discussing national security attacks on other countries over Signal. I wonder how you would react to that.
Well, look, the White House came out with a statement, I think within the last hour. Somebody handed me what they said. They clarified there were no war plans discussed. There was no classified material sent on that thread. The White House counsel is looking into the matter, looking into how this other number was inadvertently added. Obviously, that was a mistake and a serious one. But I just want to say, thanks to President Trump and his strong leadership and all the everybody on that group chat, the leaders on that group chat are extraordinary people. I know them all personally. They're patriots. They're doing a great job for the country. And that was a successful mission. We're taking out Houthi terrorists. That's what the American people expect the administration to do, to restore peace through strength and to act decisively. So, look, they've acknowledged that there was an error, and they're correcting it. And I would have asked the same thing of the Biden administration. I don't think anyone should have lost their job over that because an errant number, found its way onto a dialogue between leaders. It's a mistake, but we got to correct it going forward, and they will.
Was the mistake adding the reporter, or was the mistake having a Signal chat about these matters at all?
I don't use Signal. I don't know all the parameters of it, so it's not I'm not in position to determine whether that's appropriate or not. You have to leave that to others. But I would just say, obviously, we got to be careful with these things, and I know that they will. Mike Waltz is a colleague of mine, former colleague, he was born for the job. He is highly qualified. The president said he has total confidence in him, and we do as well.
Come on, Congressman Meeks. You and I both know that if this happened under Biden-Harris, he would just be foaming at the mouth.
I was born at night, but not last night. Here's a guy, and here's what the administration does. They lie. First, they acknowledged it. Then they attack the reporter. Now they try to say that there's not classified information. Guess what? If it's non-classified information, release the transcript. We need the transcript. And it's required by law that anything of this nature should have a transcript. Prove it. And Congress should be doing its oversight responsibility. I immediately sent a letter off to Chairman Mass to say, let's get the transcript. Let's bring them in. Let's exercise our oversight responsibilities. I doubt that he does it. He said on one of the stations, I understand that if that's true, he will ask for the transcript. Well, I'm going to go to him tomorrow. I will sign a letter with them. So it's a bipartisan request asking for the production of the transcript because this is the most ridiculous and horrible violation of our national security. One of the individuals that was on the call was in Russia, for God's sake. And we know that they know how to get things. Can you imagine if Russia wanted to and they intercepted the danger it put our pilots in? You know, the Houthis have the ability to shoot down planes. So if they were given advance notice, and you know, Russia and China would have been happy to give them certain notice so that they could embarrass the United States. This is a failure of our national security. I believe they violated laws on how to handle and utilize classified information. Whatever happened to the skiff?
Yeah, I mean, for people don't understand, because of the position that you are in and the committees that you are in, you regularly deal with some of the most sensitive classified data in the United States. There's a process. So tell people what a skiff is.
A skiff is an isolated room that is covered over by various material to prevent any interception of anything that's said within it or that comes out of it, except for on an extreme secure line.
So you can't bring personal devices in. There are no windows, none of that. So it's designed to where no one can penetrate that space so you can have honest conversations about some of the most sensitive national security data in the United States.
That's exactly right. You can't take, if you have a watch on, you got to take it off. Anything that could transmit any kind of signal out of it, you cannot have that in a skiff for the important national security information. And if you do anything outside of that, it's mishandling that information. For example, you know, if I took something out of a skiff that belonged in a skiff, because inside you got to sign who you talk to, etc., so they keep a record of it. They know who spoke to who when. They know the subject matter. And it's all contained therein and kept. Because the truth of the matter is that kind of conversation becomes part of the presidential record books for all times, you know, so that you can always go back and look at it. Like they kept the Kennedy documents for such a period of time until such time they were declassified. It's a violation of law to take certain things and use them on certain devices. I believe a crime was committed.
Then you had the CIA director who says that when he got the job, they loaded Signal on his work phone. Everything that I've read says that that can't be allowed, that you can't load encrypted apps that are for general use onto work phones.
It is absolutely insane. This is the most incompetent administration with the most unqualified members in our national security, headed by Pete Hegseth, who is basically just a weekend TV guy. You're talking about somebody that is most unqualified, and his presence to continue in that role as the Secretary of the Defense Department is going to continue to be a national security issue for us. And to have Secretary Walz, who put the reporter on this, and no one, all those top people, no one looked at the list, as you indicated, and said, who is this other person on the line? But before that, it should never have been on Signal at all. Period. It's a violation of law.
Yeah, I just, and to sit there and to watch these idiots, and we're going to play it a little bit, where you have Tulsi Gabbard, the so-called Director of National Intelligence, say, oh no, nothing classified was discussed. Okay, so if nothing classified was discussed, release it. Oh no, those things are under review. They were trying to have it both ways. They were trying to say it was classified, but it wasn't. They screwed up. So all the excuse making, they're making it worse because they're just lying.
That's what they do continually. Even with, you remember the president on this other thing dealing with immigration, he said he didn't sign it, and then he admitted he signed it. They go back and forth. They are obvious liars, and they're trying to prevent. But you know what is really important now? Congress has to do its responsibility. For years, they were doing a review on Hillary Clinton, and they held her in a room doing a hearing for hours upon hours. They did 2-3 years on Afghanistan, subpoenaing records and getting everything that they wanted. And the Biden administration gave them everything that they wanted. Now, that clip that you just showed of Speaker Johnson, it is just a joke. And you could tell that he is just covering up. We need to make sure that the Congress, and that's why I sent this letter to Chairman Mass saying that we should have a hearing immediately. We're not going to stop. I'm going to insist that there are subpoenas issued. The American people have the right to know the truth, so that because their national security is at stake and at risk with this gang of incompetence.
Absolutely. But it's amazing because, again, Jim Jordan, where's he? Where's Comer? Where are all these so-called national security, foreign policy, hardcore folks at who were railing against everything? You cannot convince me that a Vice President Kamala Harris and Secretary of State Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin were on a Signal group chat talking about troop movements and what action is going to be taking in a bombing in another country. And the Republicans would be like, this is really no big deal. Simple mistake. Let's just keep it moving.
Yeah, they would be asking for them all to resign or be impeached. And I want to get this record. So you know what? I think the most appropriate thing for me to do, I'm going to introduce a piece of legislation that we want to put on the floor and ask to have a vote on it. Let's see how my colleagues, both Democrats and Republicans, let's see, really, I know how the Democrats will vote. Let's see if the Republicans will vote on a resolution, a request of inquiry, which I have the right and the privilege to do as a member of Congress, to have the transcripts released for review by us. We can't just sit back idly and just let them get away with this and lie. We must get to the bottom of it. We don't know, and that's one of the questions that I put in. There was a joint letter that we put out and sent to the bumbling gang. We don't know how many other Signal chats that they may have had in the past, or with reference to national security interests. We don't know what those transcripts would indicate and who they talked to and who was on those lines and how many times it's occurred. We need a complete and thorough investigation to this occasion and all times. How long have they had Signal on their phones? How many times have they used it? What did they use it for? There's so many questions that need to be asked now because our national intelligence. How can our allies trust us? We're talking about trusting them with secrets and things of that nature. They can't trust us based upon what the incompetence of what we've seen take place here. So we need a lot of questions. We have a lot of questions that we need answers for.
All right, Congressman Greg Meeks, Fred, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Folks, it was crazy during today's Senate Intelligence Committee, listening to these idiots just offer excuses. And Virginia Senator Mark Warner, who serves as the vice chair of the committee, man, he grilled Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe on their involvement in this Signal group chat. So this is just too delicious. Roll it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be happy to take your extra 13 seconds. But,
okay.
I want to go back to what I addressed at the outset. I mean, this was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information, could reposition their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying? Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat.
Senator, I'm not going to get into the
Why
specifics.
are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because it's
Council.
all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
Is it
stated,
classified or non-classified
I can
information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you, thank you.
Can I provide some context, Senator, to that?
Yes, but I've...
Yeah, come on. Okay, I'm confused. I'm confused. Ratcliffe admits he was on the chat. Gabbard wouldn't answer. She was on the chat. She's sitting right next to him, and both were on the chat. Continue.
I've got a series of questions.
Well, but I think it's important because at the outset, you made a couple of comments about signal messaging using encrypted apps. So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Ratcliffe, I've got a series of questions. If you're making the statement, if you're making the statement, the signal is a secure channel.
No, can I answer that? It is
I've got a series of
end-to-end decryption. So to finish,
I understand encryption.
It is permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels. Right. So those were procedures that were implemented. My staff implemented those processes, followed those processes, complied with those processes, and finally, just please. So my communications, to be clear, in a signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful and did not include classified information.
Well, we will make that determined.
Okay, now freeze it. Now I'm confused. Go to my iPad. This is from CBS News. NSA, which he's over, warned of vulnerabilities in Signal app a month before the Houthis strike chat. The National Security Agency sent out an operational security special bulletin to its employees in February 2025, warning them of vulnerabilities in using the encrypted messaging application Signal, according to internal NSA documents obtained by CBS News. The NSA is an arm of the Defense Department and specializes in signal intelligence, which is derived from electronic transmissions and cybersecurity. That's kind of interesting that he would then say that in the hearing. Continue the video, please.
Because if it's not classified, share the text with the committee. Let me go on. Director Gabbard, you are the security executive and set access guidelines for classified information. Did you contact the Defense Secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a SCIF?
There was no classified material that was shared in that
So then
Signal
if there was no
check.
classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question. If this was Director Gabbard, if this was a rank and file intelligence officer who did this kind of careless behavior, what would you do with them?
Senator, I'll reiterate that there was no classified material that was shared in that
And if there's
Signal
no classified materials, share. And then if there's no classified materials, then you can't even answer the question whether you're on the chat. This is strangely familiar, and I think my colleagues will remember, when you couldn't answer the question, is Edward Snowden a traitor? Man, I have serious doubts about anyway. Director Gabbard, I'm going to give you this. Tweeted just 11 days ago, and I'm quoting you. Any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law and will be treated as such. So if this information is classified, what are you going to do?
Senator, 2 points here. First of all, there's a difference between inadvertent release versus
careless and sloppy,
malicious leaks of classified information. The second point is there was no classified information that was on
the
Signal
this committee
group
should
chat.
get that information. Director
And the
Patel,
National Security
Director
Council
Patel,
was
my time's about out,
how
and I'm
this
going to use
occurred.
my 12 seconds that the chairman gave me. Director Patel, has the FBI launched any investigation of this?
Senator, I was just briefed about it late last night, this morning. I don't have an update.
I would like to get an answer by the end of the day.
Georgia Senator John Ossoff, he got in on the action.
Director Radcliffe, this was a huge mistake, correct?
No.
A national political...
Hold on.
No, you
Let me
hold
answer.
on. No,
The
Director
answer- the
Radcliffe,
reason
I
I
asked
say
you a yes
no-
or no question, and now you hold on. A national political reporter
You can characterize it how you want.
was made privy
The White
to
House has
sensitive
made
information
clear
about
that there
imminent
was an
military
inadvertent
operations against a
mistake,
foreign terrorist
an inadvertent
organization.
mistake of adding a reporter.
And that wasn't a huge
to a
mistake?
seal.
That wasn't a huge mistake?
Well, I think they characterize
This is
it as
an
a mistake.
embarrassment. This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology. There has been no recognition of the gravity of this error. And by the way, we will get the full transcript of this chain, and your testimony will be measured carefully against its content. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can you say perjury? Here's Colorado Senator Michael Bennet.
You know that the president's Middle East advisor was in Moscow on this thread while you were, as director of the CIA, participating in this thread? Were you aware of that? Are you aware of that today?
I'm not aware of that
This
today.
sloppiness, this incompetence, this disrespect for our intelligence agencies and the personnel who work for them is entirely unacceptable. It's an embarrassment.
Senator,
you need to do better. And the personnel who work
better. I kind of agree with that. These things just, they continue, and they were being hammered over and over and over again. You had Senator Angus King, who was challenging them. You had just numerous Democratic senators. Now the people who were making, who were, doing, the biggest, who was kissing the most ass were the Republicans, because they were like, well, this is really no big deal. I don't see what the problem is. This thing happened over and over and over again. Now keep in mind, y'all, yesterday when the story dropped, Peter Hegseth, the Fox News guy who was, the grossly unqualified named Secretary of Defense. Well, he gets off a plane, he's being asked about it. Now, mind you, while he is talking, the story had already been confirmed by the White House. It had already been confirmed by the National Security Agency. But what the hell, you know what? Let's just go ahead and blame the media. Let's blame the media. Let's hear from Pete.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in The Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's
I'm sorry, freeze right there. Okay, so here's the problem here. It's not like Goldberg just broke into the chat. He was actually invited into the chat by Mike Waltz, who is the National Security Advisor. Yo, that's how Signal works. Signal is an encrypted app that what it does, it actually establishes a signal from phone to phone so it can't be hacked, okay? So that means that if I want to send someone a message on Signal, I have to literally send them an invite from this phone, and they have to accept if they have the app on their phone, they have to actually accept my invite. That's what they did for Goldberg. So it ain't like he broke into it. So, he discredited. No, dude. Y'all invited him to the party. Press play.
Full and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely offensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The NSC said it was authentic.
Spin, 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 lying, 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 FAFO. Here's Senator Angus King. Listen to this.
Secretary Hegseth put into this group text a detailed operation plan, including targets, the weapons we were going to be using, attack sequences, and timing. And yet you've testified that nothing in that chain was classified. Wouldn't that be classified? What if that had been made public that morning before the attack took place?
Senator, I can attest to the fact that there were no classified or intelligence equities that were included in that chat group at any time.
So,
and I
so
defer,
the attack sequencing and timing and weapons and targets you don't consider should have been classified?
I defer to the Secretary of Defense and the National Security Council on that question.
Well, you're the head of the intelligence community, and you're supposed to know about classifications. So your testimony very clearly today is that nothing was in that set of texts that were classified. I'll follow up on Senator Wyden's question. If that's the case, please release that whole text stream so that the public can have a view of what actually transpired on this discussion. It's hard for me to believe that targets and timing and weapons would not have been classified. Well, let me move on.
Oh, y'all, they think everybody else stupid. They think everybody else is just dumb. We don't realize even what's going on here. They just everybody's silly. So yesterday when Trump was asked about this, I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know what you're talking about. This is this idiot right here.
To the story in The Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis? Right. Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Spin. I don't know anything about it. You're just sitting here bullshitting us, lying. Well, guess what? Had a cabinet meeting today, and Trump spoke on it, but so did his national security advisor, Mike Waltz. And what did he do? Oh, it's the media. It's the media. It's the media.
And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was...
Lord, all this bullshit. Now, I done told y'all, we don't know how he got in. Y'all, this is real simple, okay? You have to invite from a phone. So either Mike Waltz invited Goldberg into the chat, or somebody had Waltz's phone and invited into the chat. So now you got to ask Mike Waltz, who did you hand, if it wasn't you, who did you hand your phone to invite Goldberg? And why would they invite? This ain't that hard. But again, the ass kissing was plentiful as Waltz continued.
The world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times.
That's enough. Sorry, I can't listen to that bullshit anymore. Because, see, that's just ass kissing. Oh, my God, since Donald came, everything's just wonderful. Donald just, oh, my God, it's nice and fluffy, and things are just great. Because things were just horrible when Biden was here. No, punk ass, you ain't shifting the story. You messed up. You messed up. And y'all should stop trying to run from this. This on you, player. And see, here's y'all, they always say, and the cover-up, the cover-up is always bigger than the actual event. That's actually the case. And that's what they're doing. And all you see them doing is just making up stuff and making it worse because they look like the Keystone cops that they are. They are pathetic. And they're trying to gaslight us. Oh, my God, this journalist, this Russian hoax. Yeah, y'all can come up with everything y'all want to. Nah, y'all messed up. Y'all effed up and found out. Joining us now is Indiana Congressman Andre Carson. Congressman, it is still amazing to me to watch your Republican colleagues, just place their multiple lips on MAGA's ass and just, make excuse after excuse. And we know if this had happened under Biden-Harris, they would be hauling every person down to Congress, demanding a special prosecutor, hearings, you name it. They are hypocrites.
Absolutely. There would be special orders on the House floor right now as we speak, calling for removals. I joined Leader Hakeem Jeffries in calling on Trump to fire Hegseth. I think House Democrats are united. The Secretary of Defense is unqualified. He's putting our lives at risk. This was an epic failure. There have to be consequences. You know this, for this egregious mishandling of military operations and plans by the highest national security officers in this country. I sit on the Intelligence Committee. We know, especially for black folks, the relationship with the Intelligence Committee has been tumultuous, to say the least, under J. Edgar Hoover's disastrous COINTELPRO. But on the committee, we deal with classified materials every day. There are procedures put in place for a reason, and that reason is to keep Americans safe. And I have to be clear, because today, the American people were gaslit by the president and other officials. If classified materials are communicated on an unclassified platform, that is absolutely a very grave security breach.
And here's the deal, okay? Politico's even reporting that you are not to be loading Signal and other encrypted apps on work phones. So here's the question. Were they using work devices or personal devices? And they were using personal device. Here you got Witkoff, who's over there in Moscow. He's in Moscow. Everybody knows the Russians focus on hacking the phones. Every one of y'all know this. When y'all travel abroad, y'all are told, frankly, protect your personal devices because they're trying to hack them.
In fact, we're told don't bring your personal device if you can help it, for this very reason. And Roland, there are different ways to communicate. We have JWICS, which is the Joint worldwide intelligence communication system. And through that intranet system, there are the APRANET, which is the Defense Data Network. Based on APRANET technology, we have CIPRANET and NIPRANET, and these are secure channels of communications to make these kinds of decisions. It is amazing, astounding that they would use Signal. They may have well started up a damn Facebook group chat and done it on there.
Right. Absolutely. Do you think your Republican colleagues are going to have the guts to actually call for hearings?
I'd like to think so, but they're so busy trying to get Donald Trump and Elon Musk out of their primaries next year, they can't focus. Now, they claim it's unclassified material, but refuse to share any messages and information on who and what was on that chain. And it's very simple. If they don't have anything to hide, why are they hiding the information from the American people?
Yep, this is real simple. Well, Congressman Carson, I look forward to seeing what happens next. But bottom line is, we know Fox News, conservative radio, digital, they would be going ape shit if this happened under Biden-Harris. And now it's like, oh, much ado about nothing.
Absolutely. It's awful.
All right, Congressman, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now, y'all might remember the time when Peter Hegseth was on Fox News, and remember they had the Clinton server? It's amazing. Hegseth had a whole lot to say. I mean, he was vociferous in attacking Hillary Clinton when it came to the email service and how if it's sensitive data, classified devices, blah, 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 blah. And so let's hear the best of Pete Hegseth.
Pete Hegseth, what do you think?
Well, she's got two problems here. Two words, top secret.
Right. Yeah.
Before it was servers, it was classified. It was sort of this amorphous idea that maybe it was wrong. Everyone knows what top secret means. I've had a top secret clearance. It's big red flashing letters, top secret. You know when you're looking at something that's top secret or dealing with it. In this case, the public will resonate with that. Hey, if you're hiding that on a private server, that's a very real problem.
Well, and the other thing
likely
is,
criminal charges to follow if they're being fair about it.
I mean, could there be
Okay, all right, y'all. So that was one. So there's another one regarding Hillary Clinton and her emails, and he was just, matter of fact, so Hegseth, roll this one.
If this were a Republican divulging the secrets of our nation at the very highest level, that person would be in prison. There would be outrage across the board. But here, it's covered up. It's incredible.
No, the double standard is incredible. Imagine if it was, I don't know, Donald Trump, what the media would be doing to him right now, eviscerating him. Or imagine if it was a member of the military, which we've seen from General Cartwright and General Petraeus. They still go after these guys for a tiny, tiny fraction of what she willfully did and betrayed her country in doing so, supposedly for convenience, but actually so she could have a different set of standards and hide her conduct and the conduct of the Clinton Foundation, Benghazi, everything else, so she could stay away from and above the law. And it turns out foreign services want to know what our Secretary of State thinks. And in this instance, they did whatever they could to break an unsecure server in her basement. It tells you everything you need to know.
Wait a second. It's actually worse than that, because some of those emails using that unsecured private server were to and from the President of the United States.
Sure.
So these foreign intelligence services were reading the emails of President Obama. I don't believe we've ever seen anything like that before, ever.
No, of course not, and potentially in real time. The technology that others can use once they've got into devices is to listen and see in real time. Who knows what they heard and what they have, and the kind of leverage that gives in negotiations or conversations when you know what our hand is and you can anticipate it or get in front of it, or you know our sources and methods, because we know aides to Hillary Clinton also removed markings so that they could send classified, sometimes secret, top secret information to her personal email, which our enemies were potentially reading in real time. That has consequences, including lives and reputation of this great country.
I'm not surprised that a military guy like yourself is fired up, because it's people like you who pay the price for this kind of
That's exactly right.
Extraordinary stuff.
Now, that CIA Director John Ratcliffe used to be a member of Congress, and he was a little perturbed about the Clinton email server when he was in Congress.
Mishandling classified information is still a violation of the Espionage Act. It started with Hillary Clinton. It has continued without accountability.
Right.
People haven't paid a price for that, and that's one of the reasons Bill Barr and John Durham and folks need to really focus on that, because there does need to be accountability there.
And Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor. Oh, yeah, he also was a little animated about Clinton, too.
The sitting National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, the president's National Security Advisor, sent top secret emails to Hillary Clinton when he was her deputy chief of staff at the State Department and got nothing, not even a slap on the wrist, on an unsecured server that we know our enemies were trying to access. Top secret and compartmented, even higher than top secret. He was sending back and forth freewheeling, and yet we see nothing there.
Boy, it's amazing how animated they are about those issues and how they matter and how important they are and how critical they are. How it's important for us to protect classified information. How we must not be sharing these things in a negative way. I mean, we could just go on and on and on. I mean, it is just unbelievable listening to them. In fact, before I go to my panel, I'm going to play for you. This is Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who was on Laura Ingram's show last night on Fox News. And this is Josh Hawley, who is like Mr. Masculinity and how we must protect the world. Look how just dismissive he is.
Senator Hawley, I'll just read part of this piece in The Atlantic. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern on March 15th that the U.S. was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. And this reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg, writes that I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that, again, this is the article in The Atlantic, that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapons packages, targets, and timing. Senator, your reaction to this?
Well, I thought what the Secretary of Defense just said, Laura, was an outstanding statement. And listen, I mean, we don't know how much of this is accurate or not, but it looks like even if everything the Atlantic reported is true, it's the president's advisors discussing among themselves options they might recommend to the president. And nobody can deny the success of what the president is doing here, which is what Pete Hegseth just underscored. And this is what the leftist media is reduced to. They can't argue with the policies, which the American people support. They can't argue with this new demonstration of American strength that is keeping Americans safe at home and abroad. And so now we're griping about who's on a text message and who's not. I mean, come on.
Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Let me just play my violin. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA, joins us out of D.C. Randy Bryant, entrepreneur, author of Never Says 25 Phrases You Should Never Ever Say to keep your job and friends, out of D.C. Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of Los Angeles. Glad to have all three of you here. Joe, y'all have a thing called attorney-client privilege. Yeah. And if you were in a case and if the prison, if they actually were eavesdropping on your conversation with one of your clients and passed that information on to the prosecution, would there not be problems?
Yes, there would. Something that is obtained under certain circumstances is not going to be admissible. It's not going to be able to be used. This underscores the problem that we have with here all day long. I mean, we could talk a little bit about the hypocrisy later, but you know what you have is a situation where you've got a journalist somehow that gets plugged into a conversation that he doesn't belong in. Second of all, you're doing it over an encrypted message system. Encrypted, there it is, but you know it's not an approved way of messaging for national security concerns. And you have the idea of, what's being said, all of the back and forth, and just the irony that this is called the intelligence community, because there was very little intelligence used here. And then they try to throw the journalists under the bus. Interestingly, we'll talk more about DJ Envy later, but he actually didn't reveal the details of the logistics, just the existence of the conversation. So there's this irony that somehow people are mad at this journalist for talking about the examples of the incompetence, but the secret is already out of the bag, the existence of the incompetence, the issues that we have here, which, by the way, as you've talked about at length, if the Democrats had done this, they'd be calling for this guy's head, whoever it was, getting rid of the Secretary of Defense, getting rid of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, whoever it was, other than Jesus, and maybe Jesus too, they would be turning themselves inside out. This is a blunder. It's a major blunder. And to your point, they should have just owned it. Because the fact of the matter is, to be honest with you, you've got millions and millions of people who say, incorrectly, but they say nonetheless, it has nothing to do with the cost of tea in China because I still can't pay for gas. So they should have owned it and moved on, because right now, at this moment, we don't have the numbers to do much about it other than howl at the moon, unless, of course, we use our leverage in other areas, which we don't seem to be doing. We can talk about that some other time as well. So they should have owned it, and they have the Keystone Cop things you're saying that you're talking about, as you stated. And so the incompetence it's embarrassing, it's terrible, it affects national security. But the idea that we have folks running point here that don't know how to do what they need to do is something that's been out for a while, and this is just proof of it.
I mean, it's actually just, it's Comedy Central every minute, Mustafa, just to watch the reaction from Republicans, the right, and MAGA supporters. I mean, they are just, from the Charlie Kirks of the world to the Jesse Waters and Fox News, we're going to deal in a second with those yahoos at Fox News because their ass kissing was just over the top.
I mean, I see the humor, but there's also a lot of dangerous behavior inside of the humor. So, sometimes when we're dealing with these very damaging things, we have to infuse humor to help people, one, to understand and to also get them to open up their minds. But, this is very significant, what they did. There are intelligence protocols that are in place for a reason. As Joe had shared earlier, when we take a look at Signal is not an approved top secret government media communications platform, just like TikTok isn't. So, you could have utilized the exact same thing because neither one of them are built for the conversations that were happening there. I appreciate our dear brother, Congressman Carson, for coming on and sharing some things, because he talked about CipriNet, he talked about JWICS. Those are approved processes and tools for the sharing of information. And lots of times, folks see these conversations, they don't understand. When we're talking about top secret or confidential, those are various levels that you have to go through background checks and you have to go through training to be able to move to those higher levels. Not sure with this administration if that process is still in place. And when we talk about these tools like Signal, I talked to a friend who's an expert in this space, and he said just to remind people that these types of apps and tools are only as secure as the devices and behaviors of the people using it. And that last part is critically important, because when we're talking about the behaviors of the people using it, that means, are you serious about keeping our national security and the information that is critical for decision making, in place, and having the protocols around them? Because, we've got classified phones for conversations. We have secure video conferencing that's there. You talked a little bit about the SCIFs, and people are supposed to be utilizing those. But when you don't, and then sometimes people get safe, they feel like they're safe, Roland, and we should just let people know, even though Signal is a very secure app, and I am not, one of the world's top experts in cybersecurity, but I also understand, because I've been trained on various things, that there are apps or, there's spyware that's out there that can actually, do some very insidious things in relationship to the information that's being shared. So I say that for folks and just understanding the seriousness of this moment. And the seriousness of this moment as I close is that there usually can be legal consequences when you do not follow those protocols. You can be terminated, your clearance can be taken away from you. There could be criminal prosecutions if it's serious enough, fines and imprisonment. Nobody's talking about those things, but this is an opportunity for this administration to become much more serious, to take responsibility, and to say we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to make sure that we fill whatever the gaps are so that we can keep the country safe. And if they're not willing to do that, then there are a number of other players that are out there that are always looking for opportunities to garner information. Information is power. We often say that in the international concept, in relationship to some of these things that are happening in the intelligence world, everything is about information. And that's why we have to keep it safe. So I understand people keeping the lights on, putting food on the table, but this is very significant. It was significant when they had the conversations around Hillary Clinton. It was significant when they talked about Joe Biden handling classified documents. It was significant when we had the Edward Snowden intelligence leaks that were going on. So we have to take this moment as equally as important and make sure that we're doing what's necessary to keep our country safe and our information safe.
Well, the thing here, Randy, is that, the federal government has warned that Russia and Chinese hackers have been trying to use phishing efforts in order to access Signal apps. Also, Russia has been able to hack the Signal communications there in Ukraine. So it's not like it can't be done. So we don't know what these folks have done, how they possibly have been compromised. And clearly what we have here, sloppy, immature, unprofessional actions. And these are supposed to be people operating at the highest levels. I mean, Peter Hegseth was discussing a kill list in this text conversation. And so who do people think they're fooling?
You know, there's a meme going around that says the only qualified person that Trump ever hired to do the job was Stormy Daniels. And that's funny at first, but it really it's starting to seem quite serious, because here you do have the people that are supposed to be at the highest of intelligence, that are responsible for keeping us safe, and they are looking like some Three Stooges, some Keystone cops, and it's embarrassing. I like to travel. I travel extensively, and when I travel with my friends who work for the government at much lower levels than the people that we're talking about right now, they are not allowed to even bring their government-issued computer because of safety and security issues. And these are people who do not have top secret information. There's no way that they should be. You have one official going to Russia and using an app that has not been approved by the government. There is a reason that they have situations set up for people to have these sorts of conversations where they're absolutely 1000% safe. We cannot take a risk like this. And when people say, what is the big deal? How do you think that other countries are looking at us right now? We look vulnerable. We look like a target. We look ridiculous. I'm saying the conversations that I have with my friends, or I'm even thinking within my family conversations, we ensure certain things are in place, that we've hung up from somebody else, we've cleared the line. Hold on, girl, let me call you back, because we don't want to get caught talking about somebody and they're still on the line. We clear that three-way and that four-way. There's steps that we take just for simple everyday use. And you're telling me that the top officials of the government who are talking about war plans, because if they were not, they would produce the evidence, what they are refusing to do, are using an app that I actually have on my own phone, and we as Americans are supposed to feel secure about it, and then we're supposed to trust them as we're watching them lie to our faces. I agree with everyone 1000%. I would at least feel secure if they would tell the truth and say, we made a mistake. This is what we're putting in place going forward to ensure that we keep the American people safe. But they're not doing that, because they're about protecting each other and not about the American people. It struck me in the beginning when it was said, oh, they're patriots. It's as if you're on the right team, that excuses any behavior that you do. If you're on the right team, if you're a patriot, if you're accepted into our old boys club, you can make any mistake and we will excuse it, even if it puts the security of our nation at risk. And that is scary. We're absolutely vulnerable and everybody should be alarmed.
Yeah, I mean, these people, I mean, again, to slam DEI and talk about merit and how it's amazing and smart. And Hegseth went to Harvard and Princeton. Sound pretty dumb to me. All right, y'all, hold tight 1 second, because we're not done. Who has been defending these people more vigorously than Donald Trump? Of course, his side piece, Fox News. Wait till we show y'all some of what they've been saying. And I've got some really special words for Will Cain. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now. Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
So every time you looked up Fox News, they had lots to say about Biden Harris. They were constantly talking about they were too old, incompetent, slow, all the phrases that they use. But it's amazing how their tune just changes when the incompetence of Donald Trump and his MAGA minions is exposed. This whole Signal conversation shows you exactly where these idiots stand. So listen to first of all, we're gonna go to Jesse B. Waters. This is, the resident Fox News idiot, Jesse B. Waters. Listen to his brilliant analysis.
Did you ever try to start a group text? You're adding people and you accidentally add the wrong person? All of a sudden, your Aunt Mary knows all your raunchy plans for the bachelor party. Well, that kind of happened today with the Trump administration. Mike Waltz was putting together a group chat on Signal, an encrypted app, with the Secretary of Defense, the VP, and a bunch of other national security officials to collaborate on whether to strike Iranian proxies in Yemen who keep firing missiles and shutting down shipping. Well, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz accidentally added a reporter to the group text, and not a good reporter. Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic, one of the biggest hoax artists around. Well, he heard some things he probably shouldn't have, but could have been a wee bit of a security breach. But it's not like they homebrewed a server and then bleached it or kept classified documents in their garages next to their Corvette. I'm sure it won't happen again.
A wee bit of a security breach. Really? Okay, interesting. Here is the biggest Trump ass kisser of them all, Sean Hannity.
Instead, they are obsessed with an accidentally leaked text, a chain from Trump cabinet officials who are debating the merits of military strikes in Yemen. So the very people that covered up their president's severe cognitive decline, lied about wide open borders, both of which are clear and present dangers to our country, now want you to believe that they actually give a damn and care about national security. More feigned, phony outrage. This is now the scandal of the week that you will see nonstop, 24/7, that nobody will care about. Now, by the way, it's not only a smear, but it's waged by the left. That's all they've got, and their bingo cards.
So, fame, phony outrage. I'm sorry, is this the same network that found themselves in a hissy fit because President Barack Obama wore a tan suit? Really? Really? Y'all will lecture somebody? Okay, the dumbest group of them all has to be Fox and Friends. Take your pick, the weekday or the weekend version. So Lawrence B. Jones, the brother, he's on there, and he has some thoughts about it. And look, he ain't the brightest bulb in the dark room either, just dumb stuff. So I'm just gonna give y'all just a sample of just the stupid stuff they had to say. Just roll it.
The White House says President Trump is standing by his team as the National Security Council confirms that the message thread reported appears to be authentic. They are now investigating how the journalist's number was added to that chain. Guys.
Well, thank you very much, Brooke. Well, I read the article, and it says that somebody identifying themselves as Mike Waltz added that person. I was talking to somebody in federal law enforcement last night, and they said that just based on having read the Atlantic article, what was revealed was classified and top secret. And this person has been down in D.C. for many years, has never heard of government officials at that level using Signal for stuff like that. And you know, Kayleigh, having been in the White House, there are certain top secret gizmos and venues that they use, and you don't use a commercial app that can be hacked.
Yeah, there's a channel that you're supposed to stay on with that kind of information. Now, I heard someone on CNN suggesting maybe there were Signal apps added to government devices somehow. All that remains to be seen, but I imagine the White House press shop would have gotten that information out by now if that were the case. Look, this was an obvious mistake, obviously. I will say, you know, as my dad says, when you eat crow, you got to eat it hot. And the National Security Council ate it while it was hot. They did not try to deny this. They came out, they said this appears to be authentic. Good on them. The detail I'm wondering about is the Jeffrey Goldberg detail about war plans. He says there were operational details, but he did not want to share them because it would be compromising. I don't trust Jeffrey Goldberg. The last time I sat on the couch with you guys, he had the ridiculous story about Vanessa Guillen. He had the suckers and losers.
You don't trust Jeffrey Goldberg, but clearly somebody trusted Jeffrey Goldberg to add him to a group chat. And how about we don't trust Marco Rubio? We don't trust Pete Hegseth. We don't trust Mike Waltz. We don't trust John Ratcliffe. Okay, a little bit more of their stupidity. Keep going.
Or plans. He says there were operational details, but he did not want to share them because it would be compromising. I don't trust Jeffrey Goldberg. The last time I sat on the couch with you guys, he had the ridiculous story about Vanessa Guillen. He had the suckers and losers. He is not a credible reporter. And how does this most horrific of all reporters in Washington, D.C., get added to your text chain? There are a lot of questions.
So that's literally my only question. As it relates to government officials using Signal, they all use it. They're not supposed to, but they use it.
But not for top secret stuff.
They use it. CIA, every single intelligence agency uses Signal. I know that for a fact. I talk to them on Signal. They're sources of mine. They all use Signal. It is the best way and the most secure way to get information out. And that's why a lot of journalists use it as well. They don't want it, they're not supposed to do it, but they do it anyway. I don't understand how he got on this chain, especially when you add someone to Signal, there's an alert that shows you that someone else, if you don't have their contact, there's someone that's new that's been added to it. While all of those people that were on that chain didn't say who is this person that's on the chain that wasn't saved in their contact, I don't know. They need to get to the bottom of that. Yeah. Also, I'm curious, whoever did end up adding him, why are you communicating with this guy?
Yeah.
You should not be communicating with her. This is not the person to be communicating with.
Right, it's a highly...
Okay. Who the fuck is communicating with you? Why would they communicate with you? You're a hack. Okay, you're a joke. No, you're not a real journalist, Lawrence. You're not. You just sat there and said, oh, I communicate with these people. They shouldn't. No, Lawrence, that's a lie. People can actually, you can be in government and communicate on Signal. The law says that if you're doing official business, talking to you ain't official. So you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. So wasting any airtime on Lawrence Jones is truly a waste of time. But the biggest dummy has got to be Will Cain. I mean, first of all, This is somebody, listen, y'all, I used to debate Will Cain on CNN. I mean, you know, Will, everybody know, the best thing about Will, he got a nice head of hair. That's it. But that ain't strong. It's not, okay? It's not, okay? Real weak, real weak. This is what this fool had to say yesterday. Now, I told y'all, if you think Sean Hannity kiss ass, if you think that Jesse Waters kiss ass, oh no, can't nobody at Fox News on this topic talk the ass kissing of Will Cain. This is what he had to say, y'all, when this story broke yesterday. Oh my God, just roll it.
All right, on to another big story today out of The Atlantic, where their editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, has reported that he was accidentally sent sensitive information about military strikes in Yemen. The messages come from 18 national security officials. They were sent through the encryption app Signal, and there are indications that they appear to be authentic. I think there are two takeaways from this story as of what we know today. One, it is incredibly concerning that sensitive information would be sent with a journalist included in the thread. We can speculate, and there is reasonable, fair expectation that somebody like Jeffrey Goldberg was accidentally included under his initials, JG, when who was meant to be included was a trade chief, Jamison Greer. But if it was accidental, and we'll wait to see if this was accidental, it is incredibly concerning that this information would be shared over the Signal app with a journalist included. But the bigger takeaway for me is it's an insight, a transparent insight into the thought process and dialogue of our national leaders. If you look at the actual content of what was reported, if you look at how they discuss potential strikes on Houthis in Yemen, what you will see is dialogue between Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Stephen Miller, Tulsi Gabbard, and many more, in a very collaborative, open, honest, team-based attempt to come to the right decision after years of secrecy and incompetence. If you read the content of these messages, I think you'll come away proud that these are the leaders making these decisions in America.
That's what your dumb ass got out of that? Oh my God, look how collaborative, how they communicated back and forth. Y'all, Will Cain's supposed to be a lawyer. Supposed to be. At no time did he ever even bring up, shit might be illegal. Just, oh my God, look how collaborative and how they communicated, they shared. Well, I'm sorry, was this a therapy session? Was this a marriage counseling session? But what the hell is he describing? Now, listen to this fool today. This is, here we go.
But that was not a serious mistake, putting American lives into jeopardy. And I think that your side is doing this to score political points, the first political points they've been able to accomplish in 2 months.
Well, what we're talking about here, and I've spent a decade now watching how our intelligence community communicates with the warfighter. So I am not going to listen to you tell me that this is about a partisan advantage. It is a mistake, and yes, it's a very serious mistake. Because if you make a mistake in Social Security and grandma doesn't get a phone call through, that's bad. But there is not zero risk that our young men and women in uniform, the ones who flew those F-35s and F-18s,
Congressman, how was an American life put into jeopardy?
We will find out.
Congressman, how? Fine, you've made a claim. Tell me how an American life was put into jeopardy.
Because in an insecure channel, in what was acknowledged as a mistake before, whether it was a day or 2 hours or 5 hours, in a signal chat that we know. Do you want an answer to your question? In a signal chat that we know that the Russians could intercept, they might have told the Houthis in an hour. And in half an hour, they're moving their anti-aircraft stuff around. It is by the grace of God that we don't have dead pilots or sunken ships right now. And I will tell you, whether it's a big mistake or a small mistake, to then go and attack Jeffrey Goldberg, without whom we wouldn't even know about this mistake, it's got to make
including Jeffrey Goldberg was the mistake. including Jeffrey Goldberg, was the mistake.
And get any military officer on your show right now, Will. Get any military officer serving right now, any intelligence officer, and they will tell you that Jeffrey Goldberg was the cherry on top of using an insecure channel in advance to discuss military plans.
I'm not going to argue, Congressman. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue that no mistake was made. And I'm not going to argue that Signal is the perfectly appropriate app to have this conversation. What I am going to argue with you is that you are hyperbolically taking this over the top, yes, absolutely, for partisan points, in order to score in the first time in 2 months. Don't do it on Signal. I agree. Don't do it on Signal.
Well,
but nobody's live.
You know what? Here's the
CIA
thing.
director.
You are the one who is making this into a partisan issue. And we are talking about the lives of our young men and women. And it makes me want to throw up to hear you turn this into a partisan issue when we are talking about the lives of our airmen and Marines and sailors. You just need to stop this. You cannot run a segment cheering Medal of Honor winners, many of whom win posthumously, and tell me that this mistake is about partisan advantage.
It is. And I can run that segment, and I'm doing it with you right now, and I'll tell you something else. This isn't an administration that watched as 13 Marines died or spilled secrets to the Chinese Communist Party or did any of the other things that we just watched. It's hard to take you seriously, or that Jeffrey Goldberg is the hero in this story.
It's actually hard to take you seriously, Will Cain. And that's why you've truly earned this award from those of us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network.
The Golden Trump MAGA Ass-Kissing Award, honoring a lifetime of exceptional flattery and unwavering dedication to ass-kissing excellence, awarded to Fox News' Will Cain. For unparalleled commitment to the fine art of sycophancy, this prestigious honor recognizes those who have bent over backward, perfected the art of empty praise, and elevated brown nosing to an Olympic-level sport. From his relentless nodding in agreement to his uncanny ability to compliment even the most questionable decisions, Will Cain has demonstrated an unwavering devotion to the craft of kissing ass. His lips have graced the ass of twice impeached criminally convicted felon-in-chief Don the Con Trump with such finesse that even history itself must pause in admiration. May this Golden Trump MAGA Ass-Kissing Award serve as a symbol of Will Cain's lifelong achievement of puckering up and kissing the ass of a wannabe dictator, and ensuring his legacy of loyalty remains forever unchapped.
Congratulations, Will. You truly earned that award. Let me now go to my panel. Your thoughts, Randy?
Congratulations to him. Very well earned. Very well earned. He has, I think, worked hard for it. His lips should be chapped by all the ass kissing he's done. And I hope that all the ass kissing he's done gets him exactly what he wants in life and what he deserves.
Mustafa.
James Baldwin said, "I can't believe what you say because I see what you do." There just needs to be some real parity in how we are approaching national security issues, intelligence issues. It's significant, whether it's small or large. There can be huge impacts. So, I just want to see folks get serious. I want to see folks also fix whatever the gaps are. And, folks are going to live their lives in front of the camera and behind the camera how they do. Folks just need to be able to understand the biases that people often bring and how those biases often don't help the everyday person to understand what's really playing out.
See, Joe, I can't take people like Will Cain seriously, or Sean Hannity, or Jesse Waters, or any of them. All right? These are the people, they went ad nauseum about Hillary Clinton and her emails. And now it's like, oh, this is just a mistake. It's just a simple mistake. No, I can't take them seriously. And they should be called out because, see, they love talking about everybody else. They love trashing everybody else. But no, they have earned this. Will has earned this because that ass kissing yesterday, and then, well, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about whether they should have been on Signal. Well, that's the whole damn point.
Right.
So I love it how I'm not going to talk about what the thing is, so I'm going to focus on something that ain't the thing.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy is crazy, but there is a Republican MAGA echo chamber that they filter everything through. And we've gotten to the place where people look at the result that they're looking for and then just decide to disregard facts if they're not consistent with the result. And I think that's why we have to press on this and continue to keep the foot on the gas related to these issues, because underlying all of this, I think we're going to be able to continue to connect the dots and keep bringing it back home to the notion that, hey, these folks lie, they don't tell the truth, and these folks help them to not tell the truth, and they help to cover up the truth. Because when the truth does not benefit them. And so we have to continue to trudge along that road and help people understand why this is important. If we don't help folks understand why this is important, then frankly, it's a loss, because at the end of the day, truth is important, facts are important, and hypocrisy has to be pointed out, and it has to be emphasized, because it's this same hypocrisy that's leading to things that are happening from a policy standpoint that have the potential to negatively affect millions and millions of Americans. And we have to be able to simply and concisely connect the dots, and this is part of that discussion.
It is. It really is. But you know what? I'm sorry. That video was so delicious and so delightful that I must see it again. So here we go.
The Golden Trump MAGA Ass-Kissing Award, honoring a lifetime of exceptional flattery and unwavering dedication to ass-kissing excellence, awarded to Fox News' Will Cain. For unparalleled commitment to the fine art of sycophancy, this prestigious honor recognizes those who have bent over backward, perfected the art of empty praise, and elevated brown nosing to an Olympic-level sport. From his relentless nodding in agreement to his uncanny ability to compliment even the most questionable decisions, Will Cain has demonstrated an unwavering devotion to the craft of kissing ass. His lips have graced the ass of twice impeached criminally convicted felon-in-chief Don the Con Trump with such finesse that even history itself must pause in admiration. May this Golden Trump MAGA Ass-Kissing Award serve as a symbol of Will Cain's lifelong achievement of puckering up and kissing the ass of a wannabe dictator, and ensuring his legacy of loyalty remains forever unchecked.
You know what? That might actually end up becoming an award of the week, because it's going to be a whole lot of that over the next 4 years. Going to a break, we come back. Attorney General Pam Bondi, I'm confused. Is she a Fox News personality, or is she the Attorney General, or is she the spokeswoman for Elon Musk and Tesla? Now she's warning Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett about her criticism of Elon Musk. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We come back. We'll also talk with Shirley Eiffel about the 14th Amendment Center she's leading at Howard University. Lots to break down, y'all. Here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Don't forget, support the work with you. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. So if you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, do this here. You can use Stripe. If you want to give you using Cash App, this is the QR code right here. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. Also, if you want to send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And if you want to get like the shirt that I'm wearing right here, hashtag we tried to tell you, FAFO 2025, not Project 2025. You can get this shirt plus the other one that we have, the new one that we have. Don't blame me, I voted for the black woman. Get our merchandise. We got t-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, and more. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com, RolandMartin.creator-spring.com, or go to the BlackStarNetwork.com. Back in a moment.
This week on A Balanced Life, join us as our resident experts and special guests talk to us about what it means to protect your peace. I know you say you got it all together, but let me tell you, life be lifing. So we're going to talk about how do you find who you are? How do you find your lane? How do you stay in your lane? And what it means to really date you, to look in the mirror and find out who you are and love the person that you see.
When is the last time you said I love you to a loved one? When is the last time you said I love you to yourself?
That's next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here at Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Let's talk. Vote blue no matter who.
We need political imagination more than ever, and unfortunately, some people on the Democratic side really are discouraging that. We're going to dig into all of it.
The Democratic Party needs to remember who they are and who they are responsible to.
This is On the Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, she's really an idiot, y'all. She issued a warning to Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for her comments about Elon Musk. And now she is demanding that Crockett apologize to the South African apartheid billionaire and the Tesla shareholders. Listen to this fool.
As authorities now work to stop the violence, and while the FBI is working to end the violence against Tesla, well, some Democrats and members of the state-run legacy media mob appear to be celebrating the company and Elon Musk's woes, including the left's new rising star, Jasmine Crockett, who actually said that she wished for Elon Musk to, quote, be taken down. Take a look again at her vile comments.
I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
Now, these comments did prompt a strong warning from the Attorney General Pam Bondi and literally said, tread carefully. Has Jasmine Crockett learned anything? Well, you wouldn't know it based on what she said about Texas Senator Ted Cruz over the weekend. Take a look.
All right, I don't need to hear enough of these dumbasses. I mean, these are true idiots, Joe. They're true idiots. And now you want her to apologize to shareholders. Let's just be real clear. Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, his entire administration, they all work for Elon Musk. They work for him. They represent him. They do his bidding. They're trying to sell his cars. They're trying to sell his stock. Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, was on buy Tesla stock. They are all about trying to help him. This is not about him helping the country, contributing to the country. No, this is about helping him make more billions, period.
Yeah, it is about helping him make more billions. And you need to look no further than his own words. It basically says that the greatest mistake of Western civilization is empathy. And so, they're supposed to, on the government dime, as it were, help to blow him up, blow up his stock value while people suffer, et cetera. So, Jasmine Crockett is not their problem. The problem is the truth that Jasmine Crockett actually tells. So what they can do is just make sure that it's not the truth so that Jasmine Crockett doesn't have that story to tell. Jasmine Crockett is not a problem. She's not the reason that criminals from January 6th ran the streets, some who got 20 to 30 years and ended up walking and hit the bricks like it was a Jay-Z record. Jasmine Crockett is not the reason that there's so much inconsistency and that Russia and that these other countries know that they can basically play us. All they have to do is compliment the president. She's not the problem. They are.
And here's the deal, Mustafa. This is a money game. Go to my iPad. 1 year ago, this was Tesla stock, $172.63. Well, here's what happened. He started kissing up to Trump. And so let's just go here. Okay, all of a sudden, it goes up to 250, 262 on July 9th. And all of a sudden, we're getting closer to the election, October 18th. Then, guess what happens? No, October 25th. Look right here, October 31st. November 4th, 242. Oh, but guess what? That $300 million that he gave to elect Trump, look how it's paid off. It goes from 242, up to 350. Up to 436. Goes even higher, 462. But then all of a sudden, Doge comes in and it starts dropping. And it goes down to $230. So what did they start doing, Mustafa? Oh, Donald Trump's whole showroom exercise on the White House lawn, all these people coming out, and now the stock goes up. But the reality is, in the last 5 days, the last month, though, the stock is down about 5%. This is what this is all about. They are doing all they can to boost this company. So you have never seen the White House do anything like this to help one company, but they are all in on Elon. And so I'm with Jasmine Crockett. Tell Pam Bondi she can go to hell.
Yeah, I mean, most White Houses would understand that there's real ethical concerns and violations in being able to prop up, one business, one corporation over others. And many of the others, of course, would speak out at that time, even though you've heard a lot of silence in this particular moment. For the Attorney General, I would implore her to actually fight as diligently for civil rights, which is a part of her responsibility as corporate rights. Because, we understand who is actually the most vulnerable and who actually needs a strong attorney. She is the lead attorney for our country and has that responsibility in making sure that she is protecting the citizens. But the focus seems to have been more on the corporate side of the equation instead of the people side of the equation.
Randy, that woman spends more time on Fox News than she does at the Department of Justice.
Yes, I thought she was working there, that she had just decided to become an anchor man because she is always there giving interviews and throwing out threats. Like, I thought it was really inappropriate what she said about Jasmine Crockett, but they don't like her because she speaks the truth. And this administration is not about the truth. And, she calls them out on what they do wrong. Musk has lost $120 billion since December, right? Because of Tesla and his involvement in this administration. And people are seeing that the company, as it has for a long time, lacks integrity, and the man lacks integrity. But the fact that we have what is supposed to be the most powerful attorney worrying about justice issues for the United States, worrying about protecting one man, and not just Tesla, it's one man that she is throwing out these threats to say, do not talk badly or poorly about him. Jasmine Crockett is not the only person, nor was she the first person to say we want to take down Tesla. People are selling Teslas left and right because of what it has come to represent. And that is this shady government that we have going on right now, and a man who has bought the government. So, I mean, she's not alone in this, but Bondi is deciding to attack one person unfairly. She doesn't have anything better to do?
No, because she ain't never at work. Hell no, she ain't got nothing else to do. All she does is spend all of her damn time on Fox News. That's what she's doing. As simple as that. All right, folks. The 14th Amendment, added to the United States Constitution in 1868, granted citizenship and equal civil and legal rights to African Americans and emancipated slaves following the American Civil War. It includes all individuals born or naturalized in the United States. But guess what? The right really wants to limit that. They're doing all they can to limit that, to limit citizenship, to limit voting rights. Sherilyn Ifill is the Vernon E. Jordan Esquire Endowed Chair in Civil Rights at Howard University's Law School. She's launching the school's 14th Amendment Center for Law and Democracy, which will open on Friday. She joins us right now. Sherilyn, glad to have you here. Before we talk about that, we got to talk about this this executive order that Trump dropped today that some are confused by. At the end of the day, it's attacking citizenship when it comes to voting, it's voting rights as well. For folks who just are unaware of this, just explain just your thoughts about this. Again, it shows you the constant efforts by MAGA and the right wing to deny voting rights, and now they also want to put voting under DOGE. These people, this is really about not having another election for them to have power forever.
Thanks so much, Roland. You know, it is not just this executive order, which, you know, purports to try to control what information goes on voter registration forms, which are fully within the provenance of the states. It is the states that conduct elections, not the federal government. You'll remember that in Trump's first term, he created an election integrity commission, and he got sued so much he had to disband the commission. But Roland, this is all of a piece with why I'm launching the 14th Amendment Center on Law and Democracy. There has been an effort almost immediately since the ratification of the 14th Amendment in 1866 to weaken it, to overturn it, to take away its power. The point of the 14th Amendment was to create a new nation. We were going to have a nation for the first time in which Black people would be recognized as full and equal citizenship. It's full and equal citizens. And that's where birthright citizenship came from. Remember, the Plessy versus Ferguson case came in 1896. So that's just 30 years after the ratification of the 14th Amendment. And so by then, it had pretty much been disempowered. You had the Civil Rights Act of 1875 that was overturned by a set of cases in the 1880s. You had U.S. versus Cruikshank, which essentially took away the power of the Ku Klux Klan Acts. We had a Supreme Court that was hostile to the 14th Amendment. And then, of course, we had Klan violence as well. And so all of this conspired to take away what was this promise of full and equal citizenship in the 14th Amendment. And we're still fighting that battle. If you look at all of Trump's EOs, it is shocking and appalling, and I don't think it's been remarked upon enough how many of them are focused on issues of equality, race, and citizenship. It is an agenda that is targeted at the 14th Amendment, and it's called all kinds of other things, these elaborate names of his EOs, but that's the entire point of it. And the right wing has been fighting a rear guard, not just against Brown versus Board of Education, not just against the civil rights movement, but against the 14th Amendment. And the reason I'm creating the center at Howard is because we have to understand that. And we have to begin to talk about what's happening to us and what they are attempting to do in constitutional terms. We are the only people in this country for whom 3 amendments to the Supreme Court were ratified, and they were ratified for our protection. And I think when we talk about race and discrimination in this country, we tend to talk about it in terms that are emotional and moral and not constitutional. And I want us to feel the same power with the same boldness that the guy with the AR-15 on his back in McDonald's, will tell you that that's his Second Amendment right. I want us to feel as bold in talking about our 14th Amendment right.
But see, I think that the problem that I have, and I'm just going to be frank, whether it's Democrats, whether it's progressives, whether it's liberals, whatever phrase you want to use it, that side is not as ruthless. The reality is, and matter of fact, if y'all have that clip of Speaker Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson was talking about the courts, and they, like right now, okay, MAGA is all pissed off. Now, mind you, they loved it when you had federal judges that was putting in check President Joe Biden and some of his decisions, but now they're so upset that so many federal judges are ruling against Donald Trump. And so now they're like, oh, no, now we must put limits on this. You got Josh Hawley out there. He's talking about, no, we need to change the law. And so there could be no national injunctions. We must limit these things to, a very, one geographical area. Speaker Mike Johnson that gave a news conference, he was talking about, look, we control the purse strings. And listen, Elie Mystal has been talking about for the longest, but he kept saying Democrats. He said, you control the power of the purse. I just believe that for Democrats, they keep thinking that, no, this is about the institutions. These people on the right, it is about raw power. period.
I don't disagree with you, Roland, but that's part of why I think it's important for us to be talking about this in constitutional terms. You just had a whole conversation about Pam Bondi and what she's doing with the Department of Justice, and you talked about it in the terms of her being on Fox News and not working. I want to talk about it in terms of the fact that the Department of Justice itself was created in 1870 for the purpose of creating a federal enforcement arm to protect Black people. I want to talk about why, when we talk about the power of the Attorney General, the role of the Justice Department, we want to talk about antitrust, we want to talk about environment, we talk about all these other things, but we don't talk about the fact that the core center of the job is supposed to be the reason that Department of Justice was created. And so instead we talk about, obviously Pam Bondi is not the most qualified person to sit in that seat. And we can say lots of things about her and what she said today about Elon. But what we haven't claimed for ourselves is that that's our Justice Department. And it was created for the purpose of protecting us. I agree with you about power and this idea of changing the jurisdiction of federal courts. You know who used to champion that every year? Jesse Helms. Since Brown versus Board of Education, Republicans have been talking about stripping in the Supreme Court, restricting their ability to take certain kinds of actions. That has always been their play. Talk about raw power. They don't have the votes. They don't have the 60 votes to do it. So that's important. So they're saying it, and it's nice for them to say it, but they can't do it. The question is, what are we on the other side saying about what we are going to do and what power we have? We have the power to stop them. But when we actually have the numbers, do we use the power that constitutionally Congress was given to protect Black people? And I think that's the bigger problem.
Right. That is a problem because, again, this is, for me, is an exercise in power. Listen, I think, frankly, I got sick and tired. I got sick and tired of hearing all these Democrats. Oh no, this is codified. No, stare decisis. No, these things. No. Unless it is clear, listen, it can be jacked up. Look, all of these years, what happened? Democrats were in control. Oh, LBJ's position on federal contracting. Well, you know what? Guess what? That EO, we're not going to change that. It's all good. Credit 2025 comes along, gone. Look at the issue of, we talk about, the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act used to be like a basic thing, got passed by everybody. Oh no, right wing core comes along, now all of a sudden we ain't passing jack. But hold up, Roland. Who are we blaming for this? Okay, so the Voting Rights Act, you're right, was always bipartisan, right through George W. Bush. Right. No, right? I mean, that's how recently, you had 99 senators vote in favor of the reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act. What changed that was the Supreme Court in the Shelby case. Yes. Which basically removed the velvet rope from voter suppression and allowed it to metastasize around the country. So the problem we have is that we don't just have a Congress problem. We actually have 3 branches of government that are now all aligned in opposition to civil rights. We have Congress, we have the president, and we have the Supreme Court. Right, but the reason I brought that up is because that is not a winning hand. Right, but see, the reason I brought that up, when Rahm Emanuel was President Barack Obama's chief of staff, he was basically cussing out progressives. Stop bringing up the effing courts. That was his whole deal. I remember. Yeah, you know. They were kind of like, okay, y'all keep talking about the courts. Y'all were like, yo, do y'all not see what's coming? That's, you got to have a Washington crew that understands what's happening. People, we talk about Jimmy Carter and his passing. His most consequential contribution domestically was that he was the first president. He created a whole task force to get Black people on the bench. And many of the Black judges that you and I grew up seeing were a result of Jimmy Carter, and those people have now aged out. Now, to his credit, Biden did the same, and he has now appointed more Black judges than anyone on the bench, and he's appointed more judges than anyone on the bench, and that's what the Republicans are mad about. See, I always think it's important, Roland, to figure out when they're flexing power and when they're responding to our power. What they are responding to right now are the judges, many of whom were put there during the Biden administration, right? Dale Ho, Judge Ali, all of these, all former civil rights attorneys, are judges who were just confirmed last year. And so that's what they're angry about. They are responding to the fact that if there's one thing we got right during the Biden years is that we pushed on the judges and we got the judges on the bench. So they're going to say a lot of stuff
They don't have the power right now because they don't have the 60 votes. But one of the reasons I'm creating this center, Roland, is so that we have a space, and this is a nonpartisan center, has nothing to do with the Democrats, but it's about Black people and the 14th Amendment and thinking about how can we create a strategy, a long-term strategy to fulfill the promise of that amendment that was derailed beginning in the 19th century and through most of the 20th century. It was only Thurgood Marshall and the lawyers at the Legal Defense Fund and civil rights activists who actually restored the 14th Amendment in the middle of the 20th century. And now we see this backlash coming from the right again. So we have to have a strategy of how we get out ahead of this. We have a moment right now that we have to fight every day, and that's important. But it's also important that, the future comes whether you like it or not. And the question is, what are we going to do in that future? And what do we want to have in that future? My suggestion is that we begin with what we do have, which is that we have 3 constitutional amendments that are supposed to be powerful. And if we walk in the power of them, when we have political power and when we have narrative power, then we will be able to advance ourselves in ways that cannot be reversed. And that's, the effort of the center. That's what, Thurgood Marshall and that team did. That's why you and I are here right now, Roland, because of what they did, right? And the question is, what are our great-grandchildren going to be able to say? Where are they going to be because of what we did? So the purpose of the center is to really create a place where we can have the kind of conversation you and I are having right now, right?
I also think
it's disciplinary and it's designed to help us be strategic.
I also think we gotta have some really different conversations with Black people. So what I mean by that is, I can't tell you how many times over the last 4 years I had Black folks, and I'm not talking about these nutcase Black MAGA imps. I'm talking about other Black folks, some who may not voted, some who did, who kept saying, all right, and I heard it under Obama and I also heard it under Biden. You know what, man? You keep bringing these judges up, and I keep sitting there going, literally I kept saying, do you not fucking understand that a president is there a maximum of 8 years? But a federal judge is there for life. That you can have people who serve 30, 40, 50, 60 years as federal judges. That the sheer power of one federal judge is immense. I always use the example, it's locked into my brain being from Texas. If you are from Texas and you are Gen X and you paid any attention to the news, if you're a baby boomer as well, you know Judge William Wayne Justice. He was forever in the news. He oversaw the Texas prison system. He made rulings when it came to education. This one federal judge literally controlled significant parts of the entire state of Texas. One federal judge. So it drives me crazy when I hear Black people act as if the judges that Biden appointed and the judges that Obama appointed that's insignificant when federal judges rule on everything. If you can have a law passed by the city council and somebody sues, it may be heard in federal court.
Roland, it's one of the reasons why at the conference that we have on Friday, we're going to have some federal judges, and we're going to be in conversation about how do federal judges learn about the 14th Amendment, right? Because, I do a lot of judicial education in an effort to expose judges to a better understanding of Reconstruction, of the Civil Rights Movement, of the Civil War amendments that were created for us, because we also can't assume that judges all have that information. But you're absolutely right that judges are essential, an absolutely essential part of understanding how we advance in this country. And we've got to do a better job of educating our own community about that. We've got to do a better job of educating political leaders about that. It's not sexy. And judges are behind, in their chambers and in robes, and people kind of forget that they're there and don't understand the power. So we have to do a better job of helping people block out the noise of the latest sassy thing that somebody said and really help them understand how important the judges are. As I said, I always think it's important for us to pat ourselves on the back when we do well, and we did well during the Biden administration in this on judges, and we need to recognize that we did well. And you were talking about power and using, EOs. I mean, Biden did attempt to do that. That was what the student loan thing was all about.
Yeah.
But this, I say, when you have three branches of government all aligned, kind of in opposition to civil rights, it's hard, right? Because the Supreme Court told him, no, you can't do that.
Right.
You don't have the power to do that. So, we're playing a very tough hand, and we're playing an even tougher one now. But my view is that in addition to fighting in the day-to-day, which I have done for 35 years, we have to reserve some of our energy, some of our intellect, some of our convening space, some of our collaboration to strategizing for our future. It comes, and it comes fast. And if we're honest with ourselves, the reason the right has been successful over the past 20 years is they did so.
Is this conference open to the public? Is it being live streamed? How can the public access it?
Will be recorded, and we will try to have that recording available. We don't have the space to have it as a full public conference, but it is for those on our campus. It is for those who have been invited to the conference. We have a number of amazing speakers who are going to be with us, and a lot of it, Roland, is going to be talking about how ordinary people become makers of constitutional meaning. You shouldn't be leaving it all to people like me, leaving it to lawyers and policy folks. We have an arm of it that is going to bring artists into the conversation, and we have some stunning artists with us for the day. Saheed Jones, the poet, and Carrie Mae Weems, the visual artist and photographer. As I said, we have federal judges with us. We have an incredible lineup of historians who are going to really give some vital information. And we have some activists. We have Latasha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. We have Reverend William Lamar from Metropolitan AME Church, who has done such an incredible job in that lawsuit against the Proud Boys. And we'll be talking about the role of democratic institutions, tech and journalism and so forth, and what their role is in ensuring that the principles and values of the 14th Amendment are advanced. So it's going to be a chock-full day, and our luncheon speaker will be Ava DuVernay. She and I will be in conversation, the filmmaker, and we'll be talking about how film can help do this kind of education work that you and I are talking about that we need in our own community.
So you say recorded, but how will the public, I mean, you have all of these great conversations, but how's the public going to be able to access it?
Yeah, they won't be able to see it in real time, but once we have the recording, we will post the recording. It'll be available on the website so that people can see the conversation.
Got it. I mean, but do y'all want it in real time?
Why, you coming?
No, I'm asking. Do y'all want it to be done in real time?
I think it's a little late for that.
How?
Well, call me. Call me.
Okay, that ain't. we move in 2-3 hours. You talking about Friday? That's 3 days from now, Shirley. That's easy.
Let's talk about it.
All right, ain't no big thing. That's easy for us. We do this every day. All right.
All right, Roland.
All right. Well, first of all, is there a website for the center? Where can people go?
Well, you should now go to the Howard Law School website. The 14th Amendment website will be launching soon. We do have social media. We are on Instagram. You can follow me and follow my Substack, and I'll be providing information about it until we get all fully stood up. But this is an important time. As you know, the Supreme Court is going to take up the birthright citizenship question shortly. And so it'll be an important time to educate our own community about why this case is important for us.
All right. Shirley, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland. Bye.
Folks, we're just telling you about, again, how the right wants to go after these judges. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson literally saying, okay, this is how we could target these judges. Watch.
A natural tension between the branches of the government, and we're working through that. The Judiciary Committee is looking at alternatives. One of the bills that I really like that's already been through committee was authored by Representative Darrell Issa, and that would limit the scope of federal injunctions, the ability of one individual judge to abuse the system in this way. And it would be, in my view, a dramatic improvement on that. So we'll be moving, I think, that piece of legislation and some others to address it because we have an Article I authority under the Constitution to do that. We do have authority over the federal courts, as you know. We can eliminate an entire district court. We have power funding over the courts and all these other things. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. So stay tuned for that.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. So what are the desperate measures? Y'all are simply mad that judges are ruling against Donald Trump. Here's that fool Josh Hawley on Fox News talking about his bill, that how he wants to challenge these judges. Y'all, they're mad that he's breaking the law and the judges are holding them accountable. Watch.
The key thing to do here, Laura, is to end the ability of these district courts to abuse their judicial authority by issuing these so-called nationwide injunctions. Laura, I don't think they have that authority, properly speaking, under the Constitution, Article 3. What they're doing is they're purporting, these judges, they're purporting to go out and to bind parties and individuals who aren't before them. They're purporting to bind people who aren't in their district. We only have one Supreme Court that can bind the whole nation. District courts aren't supposed to be able to do it, and yet President Trump has been subject already to 15 separate so-called nationwide injunctions. In his first term, Laura, there were 64. We have never seen anything like this in American history. It's incredibly abusive, and Congress ought to end it. And we can end it by just saying no nationwide injunctions by these district courts.
Well, Joe, that's because they've been breaking the damn law. That's it. I mean, you've had other presidents that followed the law, that actually cared about the law. These fools have been breaking the law, and the federal judges like the Kimmy Matumbo, no. They're just mad about that, and these aren't all Biden, Obama, Clinton appointed judges. Republican judges have been ruling against them.
That's exactly right. And the fact of the matter is, at the times where he gets decisions that are favorable, if it's a judge in Virginia or it's a judge wherever, and they forum shop just as much as we do. They look to file things in jurisdictions that they think would be friendly because they know that a federal judge can bind nationally. They know that. And when it works for them, it's fine. But when it doesn't work for them, we want to get rid of it. We want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. That's the power of the federal judge. And by the way, as attorneys, I can be an attorney in any state and go practice in any federal court in America. Why? Because federal is king. Federal is king. And at the end of the day, these judges are actually doing their job where Congress isn't. And therefore, he's getting more L's than he's getting W's. And so now, once again, just like anything else, you want to change the rules. So the feds, the federal judges actually are overexerting their authority or whatever else. But now what you want to do is keep them from doing that. So all that you have left is unchecked executive authority, right, and overreach and law creating and all of these other things. So you can't have it both ways. The same thing that'll make you laugh and make you cry. And as it pertains to the judges and the things that are going on judicially, they're throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall, they're being the Trump administration, that are just clearly unconstitutional. And that's why they're losing with Democratic and Republican judges alike.
I mean, go to my iPad, Mustafa. Here's Fox News whining. Trump's first administration faced 64 injunctions out of a total 127 nationwide injunctions issued since 1963. Yeah, because you kept breaking the damn law.
Yeah, that and, right, if you're serious, then put legislation forward. Put legislation forward, let it go through the system. And then, folks would have so much more confidence, and it would go through a process where everybody has the opportunity to participate and all the things that are critical. This is about erasure for them, right? It is erasure of access. It is erasure of rights. And they're playing the game in a very strategic way. So you heard him say, the Speaker of the House, that, we'll look at how we can take away resources from the courts, right? So if they don't have the necessary dollars, then it makes it more difficult for them to be able to adjudicate the cases that are there, right? If you don't have the staff, you don't have the resources to be able to do that. So folks need to pay attention to of the critical steps that folks need to get engaged with to hold accountability for the actions that people are trying to do. And if you don't get engaged, if you don't educate yourself, folks will just run around you, and they'll be asking the question, how did we find ourselves here? We have 3 branches of government for a reason. And they would love for it to no longer even have 3 branches, that just the president gets to make all decisions, and that is the final edict, if you will. So we have to pay attention, we have to get engaged, and we have to make sure that we are, educating ourselves at least on a basic level of what is going on and how it's playing out and where our access points are.
Randy, the fundamental problem is this here. They control the White House, they control the House, they control the Senate, and they're pissed that they don't fully control the courts. That's all this is about. They want to run and control it all. They don't want any any ability to stop them from implementing their agenda. They want it all.
That's what someone who wants a dictatorship wants. They don't want checks and balances. They want to be able to make decisions and not at all be questioned, checked, or stopped. And by the grace of God, we do have these federal judges who are doing what their job is to do. And they seem more aligned with serving the American people and respecting the law, even and not respecting just this one person, this one man who some seem to see as a deity. Thankfully, we're seeing people because they really do believe in the Constitution. That's why we've seen some Republican federal judges, ruling against him. And so, of course, they're upset because they did. I mean, we have to give them credit because they did put, they have it set up where they're not getting a bunch of no's. People are telling them that they could do what they want to do, and they have been doing outrageous things, but we have those federal judges.
Indeed. I'm gonna go to this last story here, and you know what? It takes a special kind of fool to be arrogant with some of the stuff that they do. A Minnesota state senator has resigned following his arrest for soliciting the prostitution from a 17-year-old girl who turned out to be a police detective engaged in a sting operation. 40-year-old Justin Eichhorn is charged with attempted coercion and enforcement and enticement of a minor. The former lawmaker is alleged to have sent messages to someone who appeared to be a teenage girl in response to an online ad posted this month. When he arrived at a spot where he had arranged to pay the girl for sex, well, he was met instead by cops. During a news conference, the police provided some details about Justin's arrest.
Next, Justin. I think everybody knows about Justin here, so I'm not going to get into that too much, other than to say that, as everybody knows right now, he is under federal prosecution. And I'm going to say one thing that Justin said that you might not know. The decoy had told him that they live with their aunt and that their aunt was gone till next week. And then Justin had asked if he could have sex in his car. Well, because he asked that, and he came here trying to have sex with a child, you will notice a nice white Toyota outside with the Bloomington police logo on it, because we're forfeiting his vehicle administratively because he wanted to come here and commit a felony.
Now, this is the same Justin who authored a bill making it illegal to have Trump derangement syndrome, where he said that, you know what, this is mental illness. Watch this.
Every Sunday night during session, I say goodbye to my wife and kids and make the 3-hour trek to St. Paul to fight for our way of life, because day after day, it is under attack from Metro liberals.
Minnesota state senator just arrested.
Under attack from those Metro liberals. Okay. How about this here? I love this particular ad that Justin did with his family. Watch.
Hi, I'm State Senator Justin Eichhorn, and I'm here at the Capitol today with my family.
Hi, Brittany Eichhorn.
And we are super excited because coming up in just a few days is the March for Life. As you can tell, our family is very pro-life. We have 4 awesome kids here. He's even shaking his head yes. But we really invite families to come out and be a part of this event.
It's an important family-friendly event that's just great for your family and your kids to come and be a part of and experience and support pro-life things.
And while you're down here, we would love the opportunity to say hi to you. Please stop by my office and, we can talk about pro-life issues or any other issues you may be having or things you're thinking about the district. So we look forward to seeing you on Tuesday the 22nd for the March for Life. See you soon.
Bye.
Well, there's a whole lot he could be talking about sitting his ass in jail, Randy.
The hypocrisy. There's always, the Republicans have this traditional family. We're so conservative. We want things to be a certain way. And then it always seems as if some story comes up that behind our backs, they're just buck wild and they're just nasty at doing these things. So when he says, he wants to protect his way of life, I was like, the one you're portraying, or, trying to hook up with a 17-year-old? Which way of life are you trying to protect? Because the two are not aligned at all.
Now, this is why he resigned, because they were going to drop this bill against him. Watch this.
At the second order of business, which is executive and official communications, the Secretary will report the communication.
Governor Walz, I am resigning my seat in the Minnesota Senate for District 6 effective immediately. I must focus on personal matters at this time. It has been an honor to serve in the Minnesota Senate. Sincerely, Justin Eichhorn.
Member, there is no action required as a result of that executive and official communication.
Joe, he has some personal issues to deal with.
And as the great Teddy P once said, it may be my favorite tune, at the hook, he says, I think you better let it go. Let it go. So he figured out that he was done. And unfortunately, sexual assault, trafficking, use of children, sexual harassment, fill in the blank. They know no party. Today, in the last 6 months, I've dealt with sexual harassment employment cases against both Democrats and Republicans. And somebody came to me and asked me about doing one against a Democrat. And I'm like, why wouldn't he? If he's a sexual harasser, that knows no party. And so at the end of the day, that's what you have. And again, we're living with that hypocrisy. And listen, nobody's perfect. Bible says, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. But you have no business, or my mom would say, you ain't got no business positioning yourself to harm children, particularly given that it's so different than what you proclaim, and then blame other folks for how they live, for having alternative lifestyles, or fill in the blank. So it's sick and it's disgusting, but jail will even it out for him, and that's just where he is. And I don't have an ounce of sympathy for this cat at all.
This is not somebody having a consensual relationship with an adult, Mustafa. He was trying to have sex with a 17-year-old girl in the car.
Well, Randy said it. She said they just nasty. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's not a laughing matter. We know pedophilia. We know these assaults on young women and sometimes young boys takes place, and that it needs to be addressed. My grandmother says, when you know better, do better. I was looking into the eyes of his children and how they are going to be impacted by the decisions that he made. He's supposed to come from this family values that folks used to use as their bumper sticker for that, for that party. But these family values don't seem to be in alignment with what most people believe in the 21st century. Maybe back in the 1700s or 1800s, maybe his behavior would have been seen as normal then. It's hard for me to even conceptualize that. You literally were willing to damage a young person for your own sexual gratification. You were willing to destroy your family and your legacy for these types of actions that you were willing to do. And now, because you made a choice, you now get to spend time behind bars. So, I hope his family heals, whether it's his wife and his children. But at the same time, I hope we will pay better attention to these gaps that still exist inside of our society, and these men primarily who are the ones who continue to bring this harm into our communities.
Indeed. All right, y'all, real quick, go to my iPad. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries is actually calling on Donald Trump to fire Pete Hegseth. He said Pete Hegseth is the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in American history. His continued presence in the top position of leadership at the Pentagon threatens the nation's security and puts our brave men and women in uniform throughout the world in danger. The so-called Secretary of Defense recklessly and casually disclosed highly sensitive war plans, including the timing of a pending attack, possible strike targets, and the weapons to be used during an unclassified national security group chat that inexplicably included a reporter. His behavior shocks the conscience, risks American lives, and likely violated the law. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth should be fired immediately. Sincerely, Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader. But before we go, I got to tell y'all this here. So while we have been live, of course, this fool Mike Waltz went on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News, and you know what? I got to leave out with this comedy. Now, just for all three of you, Mustafa, you're on Signal?
I have it, but I haven't utilized it in a long time.
Okay, you're on it. Randy, you're on it. And then Joe, you're on Signal?
Got on it this morning.
Okay. I want all of y'all to listen to this fool. Like, dude, stop digging. Listen.
I built the group my job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the number? I mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
So
Laura Ingram's kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you just spinning shit. You just, like, he did. So what? He deliberately hacked his way into the. Come on, y'all, all of us on Signal. You can't. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put my name as something else, and I'm gonna hack my way. Joe gone. This is one where take the L. Just take the L. Take the L and keep it moving.
And a whole lot of folks, frankly, wouldn't care if they should, and that's another problem that we have. But, you know, on this app, what I learned right away is that you're not at a party that you don't get invited to. So there is no issue with what the reporter actually did. He's not hacking, his mama's not hacking, his daddy's not hacking. Nobody's hacking their way into that. He was invited into that discussion, and that's the only reason that he was a part of it.
Right, this is not hard, Randy. Just say, you know what? Hey, we screwed up, shouldn't have been invited, ain't gonna happen again. You know what? We shouldn't have been on Signal. No, they just, like, damn 6 feet. Let's just go ahead and hit 20 feet. Let's just keep digging.
Yeah, they refuse to take any responsibility, and clearly they're not going to. They refuse to take any responsibility, and they just need to accept the fact that they were sloppy. I mean, you know, and they keep acting like it could happen to anybody and comparing it to if I was texting, I had a text group with the three of you. You know, you're going to be much more careful. We're talking about you're in charge of our national security. We're talking about war plans right here. So I would hope that you would be a little bit more careful than a family text where you're talking about what you're going to have for dinner the next day. But obviously, they're not going to take accountability, and they're just going to make up lies and want to blame everything from the app to the actual reporter.
Right, and Mustafa, listen to again how he wants to denigrate Jeffrey Goldberg. Listen to this.
Yes, we're going to get to the bottom of it. I just talked to Elon on the way here. We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened. But I can tell you for 100%, I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text.
All right, listen, I can't wait. I can't wait, Mustafa, for that, I don't know that woman, Miss Lewinsky moment when Jeffrey Goldberg goes, oh, we don't know each other? we don't know each other, Mike. Okay, Mike, let me start rolling out our conversations over the last 5-10 years. But just keep digging. You know what? I don't mind these fools doing it because they look absolutely stupid doing it, but just knock yourselves out.
Yeah, they're just not ready for prime time. You know, when you choose individuals who don't have the experience to be in these positions, then you're going to have these lapses, you're going to have these gaps, you're going to actually, in some instances, you know, put our country in very dangerous situations. You know, but this is all about deflection. I mean, I'm like, dang, man, you should be working for one of the teams in the hockey league, the way you keep deflecting these types of things. But when you do that, you actually bring attention back and people begin to pay more attention, and they're asking, you know, really tough questions about, you know, if you're making mistakes here, where else are you making mistakes? So what he's really doing, really all of them, is bringing greater attention to the decisions that they're making, and not just the decisions, but the processes and the actions that lead up to those sets of decisions. The last thing I'll say is, on my grandfather's farm, you go to the barn and the animals leave a whole lot of stuff left behind, so you start shoveling and shoveling and shoveling. And that's what we continue to see over the last few days in the relationship of this. People trying to move that excrement out of the way. But they just got to do better. I mean, the country needs people to actually do their job at a very high level, because when you don't, in relationship to national security, in relationship to these intelligence issues, there are serious repercussions that ripple, not just in the moment, but throughout the time. So we'll see how it all plays out.
All right, that was one thing that we had pulled, and I just got to play this here. Listen, I really wish folk understand what the role and the job of journalists are supposed to be. So they were discussing this whole thing on the Breakfast Club, okay? And the right wing, understand, the right wing has been spreading this clip around left and right. Daily Caller put this out there as well. So here's DJ Envy talking about what Jeffrey Goldberg did. And I'm like, Envy, really, bro? Come on.
If you did get those texts, right, and you know those texts weren't supposed to be to you, why would you put it out there? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, you are a journalist, but this is your country, and you know releasing some of that stuff can probably or might affect some of the things that happen. Why would you put that out there? Like,
you think I'm gonna sit on that? You know how big of a story that is? That's why you put it out there.
Yeah, but this is your country, and if it could affect military, it could affect people that's out there working.
Nobody cares about that, because you have bylines, you want to get the clicks, you want to sensationalize, and in 2025, nobody cares about that.
Don't care about people, huh? They care more about likes and TikTok numbers?
Not even .com numbers, Google Trends. Like, I'm just being real. Like, that's why you put it out there. But also, too, I think, depending on where that journalist sits politically, like, it's kind of like exposing how careless, or I think that's what they were trying to do, exposing how careless an administration could be, which is also dangerous. So maybe that's their way of saying, yo, if I care about my people, like, y'all need to know, y'all president and his administration are accidentally sending something this serious.
Okay, so that was Envy and Lauren having a conversation. Both of them have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Okay, that was just a ridiculous conversation. Okay, I've been in journalism since I was 14 years old. And the reality is, there's a long history. First of all, the First Amendment is the first for a reason, okay? I've been a journalist a long time. Again, went to communications high school, all right? Just, look, I wore, just understand, I wore this today. This is my one. Okay, Jack Yates High School, MAGA School of Communications. What they called me in high school? Mr. TV. Been doing this since I was 14 years old. Okay, so this conversation was a joke. This isn't about Lauren. It's not about clicks. It's not about that. It's actually about the role of a journalist. It's what journalists do. They broke the law. There are things that we report on in journalism. These things actually happen. You know what? There's a thing that's called, people maybe remember, the My Lai massacre. Go to my computer, okay? This was broken by two journalists, okay? Seymour Hersh is one of those journalists, okay? Very well known, Pulitzer Prize winning, where they broke the story about what happened during Vietnam, what American troops were doing. Okay, do y'all understand? This is Richard Seymour Hersh and Ronald Rittenhour. They actually broke that story, all right? Many of us know about the other story. It's been documentaries, it's been movies, the movie The Post centered around it, the Pentagon Papers. Daniel Ellsberg got a hold of the voluminous history of the Vietnam War. Come on, go to my iPad. All right, this is from the National Archives, okay? It literally breaks it down. But Daniel Ellsberg, he was working with the Rand Corporation. He was so shocked by what he saw in Vietnam, but also the lies that were being told by the American people. And so he then passed on the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times. And the New York Times, the Nixon administration went after them and then tried to get them to stop it. They got an injunction. And what then happened was the Washington Post then began to report on it as well. Okay, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the New York Times and the Washington Post. This is what journalists do every single day. Folks, I have a copy of this book, which is an amazing book by Ethan Michael McKaylee. It's called The Defender. How the legendary black newspaper changed America. Okay, this is what this book looks like. If you read this book, you know what you will discover? During World War II, the United States actually threatened to sue and to imprison black newspapers because the black newspapers were writing about racism that black troops had faced in the United States military. They wanted to charge them with treason, saying that their reporting was not in the interest of the United States. They wanted the black papers to only be writing about the war. And they said, wait a minute, y'all, there was a campaign called the Double V campaign, victory at home and victory abroad. That's what black papers were doing. To Lauren and Envy, what about clicks? It was about the black papers writing about the racism that African Americans were facing in the United States military. We can go on and on and on with countless television stories, radio stories, newspaper and magazine about how journalists have been writing about the actions of media, writing about stuff that has been leaked. I remember when I was in Fort Worth, been a city hall reporter for the Star-Telegram, when I was being leaked information about the lousy housing department there. This is what journalists do every day. And so in that clip, when Envy was talking about, well, you're an American, yes, but it has nothing to do with the issue. Do understand, Nixon wanted to put Katharine Graham, the publisher of the Washington Post, through the ringer, the New York Times as well. I just told you they wanted to actually try black newspaper publishers for treason. So what are we talking about here? If you're going to be on radio, if you're going to be on urban radio, my God, have some facts to back it up. Please, by all means. But when you put these things out to the public doesn't know about these things. I dare say the young audience of the Breakfast Club, they don't know. I'm not assuming, but more than likely, they ain't got no clue about the My Lai massacre. They got no clue about the Pentagon Papers. They got no clue about the many instances where journalists have actually done this reporting. It has nothing to do with being an American. It has nothing to do with being a Texan or being a Houstonian. When you are a reporter, you may have to report some things that government officials don't like. I've had countless run-ins with mayors and city council members and state legislators, members of Congress. My job is not to serve them. Has nothing to do with the flag and, oh my God, this might hurt the military. No, it's called the public interest. The public interest. And so when I saw that clip, I was like, I sent Envy a text. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? I need black targeted media because the Breakfast Club is not black owned. iHeart Radio owns the Breakfast Club. But I need, if we're going to be having conversations, I need us giving factual conversations to black people. And the role of journalists, it's not about waving the flag. Why was Phil Donahue's show on MSNBC canceled during the Iraq War? Because of, oh, no, we got to be waving the flag. We now know, because of some journalists with Knight Ridder who were doing the work, and they exposed what was happening in this country. They exposed the truth about the war in Iraq. They exposed the truth about weapons of mass destructions. They exposed that. So what do we say? They should have been doing their job? When the numerous journalists were reporting, what happened when journalists got pimped? Judith Miller, New York Times, who ran these stories of an Iraqi national describing a program of weapons of mass destruction that never existed. All of that stuff could not be corroborated. This is why you need a strong fourth estate. This is why you need journalists. There's a difference between somebody talking on the radio and somebody reporting the news. There's a difference between somebody who's out there gathering the facts than somebody expounding on what they read. And so I just need our people to understand. I need our people to understand that what Jeffrey Goldberg did here, Jeffrey Goldberg did nothing wrong. Jeffrey Goldberg is an editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. He was added to a signal group. Do y'all understand that, again, what they were doing was against the law? They were brazenly and openly having conversations in a signal chat group about the attacks in Yemen? Let me repeat again. Pull a graphic up. I need to show y'all who was on there. National Security Advisor, Waltz. Vice President, J.D. Vance. Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary. Susan Wiles, Chief of Staff. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. You got Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. The Director of National Intelligence, meaning all of the intelligence agencies reporting to her. Ratcliffe, head of the CIA. Stephen Miller, top aide to Trump. The lead negotiator, Witkoff, who was in Moscow at the time when he was in the group. That, Envy, is why Goldberg reported the story. Because the American people should know that the entire apparatus of the United States Foreign Service Group, if you will, were having a conversation where somebody allowed a journalist, somebody without security clearance, into a conversation to listen to actual troop movements and actions taken by the United States military. You damn right, Jeffrey Goldberg should have reported this. This is what our job is. Simple as that. Final comment from our panel on this. Randy, you first.
Journalists are the people who provide the truth for us. They allow us to make the decisions. I mean, they are so vital to America. I mean, everything you said, it was just was spot on. I don't think that Goldberg, he's not an influencer. I don't think he's worried about clicks and likes, but he is worried about being true to his profession. And that really makes him a true American.
He did not believe what he was seeing, and he was very, very reserved about it. Ultimately, he didn't post the operational details, so everything that Envy seems to be worried about, he did not post on. He did not reveal those things, even though he was privy to them. And the other part is, at the end of the day, this is news. Something being done that's against national security interests, and possibly breaking the law. That is the definition, the quintessential definition of news. But it's not news that these guys are incompetent, that the intelligence community, people that are leading it, is not necessarily so intelligent. And so the idea that this is one of the reasons and one of the ways in which they're not so intelligent and don't have it together is absolutely news. But the cat's already out of the bag. And Envy, that is not this particular person's fault.
Mustafa.
The role of journalism is to place a spotlight on the truth, even when truth is inconvenient, dangerous, or denied.
Indeed, indeed. And folks, go to my iPad. This, Knight Ridder, how a small team of U.S. journalists got it right on Iraq. 20 years after the U.S. invasion of Iraq, the reporting team at Knight Ridder shares how they debunked the Bush administration's relentless march to war. Y'all, their reporting took place in real time. If people had listened to these reporters at Knight Ridder, we would not have entered that war. And you would not have had thousands of people die unnecessarily, because the war was not about WMDs. It was about oil. Simple as that. Joe, Randy, Mustafa, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, we appreciate all of you for watching the show. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button. If you're not hitting the like button, please, let's make that happen. Also, folks, if you want to support the work that we do, listen, the conversation that you've heard for the last 2.5 hours ain't happening anywhere else. In fact, when I turn to these other networks, I don't see black members of Congress speaking about what took place today in the Senate hearing. And so this is why it's important for you to support this show, support this network, the new shows that we've launched, the shows that we have, the new shows that we're working on launching right now. And so, again, the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $1 million that'll be raised. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. And so, listen, we got plans to add a couple of new shows, health show, business show. We're looking at adding more content as well. This is about us having a real black-owned media company that's not about gossip. We're not dealing with all kind of other BS. We are focused on news and information. And so you want to contribute via Cash App. This is the Stripe QR code to use right here. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. You can also use the Stripe QR code to use for credit cards. Check and money orders, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal is R. Martin Unfiltered. Folks, and also when y'all do PayPal, it says New Vision Media, that's the parent company. Don't freak out. That is, of course, that's us. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to download, first of all, get our gear, get our merchandise. Of course, the shirt I'm wearing, hashtag We Tried to Tell You, FAFO 2025, or the other shirt, Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. Get the merchandise from RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code is there as well. Or go to BlackStarNetwork.com for the shirts, hoodies, crew necks, wall art, mugs, and more. It can all be there. You can also, folks, go to want you to get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. When you get a copy of this book, you also, of course, you can get the audio version I read on Audible, and so get that as well. And don't forget, download the app Fanbase. We want to build that up, and we want to hit another 1 million users, subscribers to that. And if you want to invest in Fanbase, go to startengine.com/Fanbase. Folks, that's it. I will see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, where we keep it real, keep it raw, keep it unfiltered. Most importantly, we keep it black. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now. Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?